The demonstrations have spread to other parts of Tibet, and there are very large demonstrations happening yesterday and today in eastern Tibet, Tibetan areas that are under Gansu and Sichuan and Qinghai.
So what is happening with those protests? Are they meeting the same reaction that they had in Lhasa?
They are. There's huge deployments of People's Armed Police, possibly troops as well, and dispersing the crowds. Those monasteries are also locked down now, and arrests have already started there as well as in Lhasa.
Now, the Chinese authorities have offered leniency to anyone involved in these protests if they surrender by midnight tonight local time. Based on what is known from what's happened in the past, what is the nature of the leniency? I mean, would people be wise to surrender? We notice the Dalai Lama is not suggesting to people that they do surrender.
What they're actually asking is that they will get leniency if they turn over the names of others who they know were involved. This is really a dragnet operation to find out each and every person who is involved, especially the leaders. So they said that people will even get rewards if they, even people who weren't involved in the demonstrations, but they will be rewarded if they turn in their friends or neighbors or colleagues or anyone they knew who was involved. And I think this is an attempt to speed up the process of arresting everyone they can who is involved in this. I do believe that the people will get some leniency, but leniency is a very relative term in this situation.
Sure. The Chinese position is essentially the violence has not been committed by them. The violence has been committed by small groups of separatists, as they describe them. And we've seen scenes of people smashing particularly Chinese-owned shops and so on, including in some cases monks being involved in this. Is that damaging to the Tibetan cause when you see robed monks smashing buildings?
I think it is somewhat, but what people should also have seen is the peaceful protests which preceded this violence. On Monday and Tuesday, March 10th and 11th, less than a week ago, there are large-scale, very peaceful protests. And it was when those protests were disrupted forcibly, that's when the lay population, the initial protests were mainly by monks. When the monks were beaten up and detained, that's when the lay population came out in solidarity. It is very disturbing. It's always disturbing to see this kind of violence, but I think this is a real sign of the incredible frustration and desperation of the Tibetan population.
Two quick questions, really, or the conjoined questions. One is, what do you want the world to do, and what do you want athletes who are already close to packing their bags to go to the Beijing Olympics, what do you want them to do?
Well, speaking of athletes, I think one of the most important things that we're calling on is that the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, work to prevent the Olympic torch from being carried through Tibet. Because as it stands right now, in just 3 months from now, June 19th, 20th, and 21st, they plan to take the Olympic torch through Lhasa. And we believe, just on humanitarian grounds, that trying to take the Olympic torch through the city of Lhasa at this point may just be more provocation. It could lead to further unrest, more crackdowns, and possibly more violence. So we think it's, unless the Chinese are willing to line the streets with soldiers while the Olympic torch passes through, that it's really wise to change the route.